Hello and welcome to this weather update. We are going to take a look at the storms yet from yesterday. And taking a look, there was unfortunately six people in this area that lost their lives yesterday due to these storms. And we're going to read this about the storm damage. So the National Weather Service office in New York has completed a preliminary survey for the area between Beacon Falls and Hamden in New Haven, County, Connecticut. The survey is in relation to severe thunderstorms that had moved through the area on May 15, 2018. It has been determined that an EF1 tornado with an estimated peak winds of 110 miles per hour moved along a 9.5-mile path between Beacon Falls and Hamden. Numerous trees were uprooted along this path. A final assessment, including the results of other surveys being conducted today, will be completed and transmitted via a public information statement on Thursday. And this is the other one. They've surveyed storm damage in the vicinity of Southbury and Oxford in New Haven County, Connecticut. And there it has been determined that an EF1 tornado with an estimated peak wind of 100 miles an hour moved along a 4.5-mile path between Southbury and Oxford. Numerous trees were uprooted during this storm. And then we have this in Newburgh, Orange County, New York. It was determined that an EF0 tornado with estimated peak winds of 85 miles an hour moved through a path of 674 yards in Newburgh, New York. All right, and then we have this too. So there's a lot of storm damage reports and investigations. They've also surveyed storm damage near Brookfield and Fairfield, Connecticut, and there it was determined that there was a macro burst with maximum wind speeds of 100 to 110 miles an hour. These can actually cause more damage than a tornado because they cover a larger area. And it says right here, macro bursts can produce as much, if not more, damage as tornadoes due to the size and scope of a macro burst. So 100 to 110 mile winds impacted a swath of about 2.5 miles in width and 5 miles in length in the Brookfield area. The worst damage was from the Candlewood Shores area, extending east across Route 7, just north of the senior high school to Lake Linnenon. Numerous trees were uprooted and snapped. Then we have, this is a long list that I'm going to have to read. The National Weather Service has completed a preliminary survey in the area near Paterson in Putnam County. And here was yet another tornado here. It was determined that an EF1 tornado with estimated peak winds of 100 miles an hour moved through a discontinuous path of 75 yards in Paterson, New York. And then we have Kent in Putnam County. And it determined here that there was a macro burst with maximum wind speeds of 80 to 90 miles an hour. Impacted a swath of about 3 miles in width and 4 miles in length in the Cherry Hill area. And then we go on, and another damage near Penn County, and here in another area near Kent in Putnam County. In this area here, it had been determined that an EF2 tornado with estimated peak winds of 110 miles an hour moved through a path of 100 yards in Kent, New York. This is really a lot of damage from this storm. And in North Salem, in an area near North Salem in Westchester County, it had been determined that a microburst with estimated winds of gusting to 80 miles an hour occurred, resulting in approximately 250 yards of downed trees. So that is all. There is a lot of damage and a lot of power outages, which we're going to get to next. Still a lot of power outages and problems still on Metro North. So there are a lot of power outages remaining because of the extensive damage. There's areas that don't even have school up here. I mean, this is a disaster area, or a state of emergency has been declared up in the Hudson Valley in many of these areas due to these storms. And this is a map. You can see where all the outages are, some of the most significant ones. Anyway, for Orange and Rockland. So I want to just take a look and see if we can get an actual summary here. Orange and Rockland, according to them, they have 9,827 customers out of power. And we're going to go now to JCP&L, and you can see a lot of outages in the Morris and Sussex County area here. Tremendous amount, some pretty large ones here. But they have a total of 23,341 customers out of power. and even harder hit Connecticut, and they have a lot of outages here. You can see in these areas here. From what I heard on the news, it's 71,000 people without power in the state of Connecticut right now, and you can see a lot of outages here in this particular area around Danbury. Has been hit very hard. Let's see if I can get a number. Yeah, so total out, yeah, is 69,114 outages. So these storms have been pretty significant, very unusual to see in May. And now we're going to get to the problems with Metro North. Now we'll start with last night, or early this morning, where they were able to resume service in some parts of of Metro North with significant delays. However, substitute bus service was being provided on the Waterbury branch, probably due to Connecticut, that being in Connecticut. However, for other parts of the area, people were screwed. And I love this line here. Customers traveling north of Cantona should arrange alternate transportation. That means your favorite Ubers and taxis. There was a comment, actually, which I'll put up on the screen, about one of these, about this, that, this is some kind of, this is Cuomo's MTA. The MTA has all these buses, and they never bring them out of the city to help out railroad commuters. It's not just us on the Long Island Railroad. It seems that Metro North also is being screwed by this as well, because they care more about the city than about the suburban areas. The MTA, it's a serious problem, and it's gotten worse under Cuomo. And so there were speed restrictions, and then they finally start working on all those down trees. And I understand it was a disaster, and it was Cuomo here. He's trying to be like the hero. I'm declaring a state of disaster. I'm just curious to see the comments here. All right, well, some of this stuff is a little off topic, so we're not going to look at that. This was the Metro North service plan, so they actually did wind up putting up together a service plan, which they operated regular service on Wednesday on the Hudson, New Haven, and on the Harlem between North White Plains and Grand Central. Limited service was anticipated. Actually, no, normal service on the Hudson line, regular service on the Hudson line, but then they say limited service is anticipated between Croton, Harmon, and limited service anticipated between Southdays. So they had service suspended. This was last night's statement. They had service suspended between Waysaic and Southeast, with no alternative transportation being provided. I heard there might have been some school buses around, but again, they can't get. The MTA has all these coach buses in the city. They don't want to bring them out, and I think when these states of emergencies happen, I think that express bus service in New York City should be suspended, with the exception of Staten Island. But all other boroughs should have their express bus service suspended, and those buses should be used for transporting people on the commuter rails that are being stranded by these problems. And this was a bad storm. The Metro North could not do anything about it. This area is a disaster zone, and it's going to be very hard for them to get, clear off all the trees. Here's some of the pictures of it. Trees on the tracks. There's been damage to the power lines that serve the substations and the signals in these areas. So I can't really. The main thing I'm going to blame them with is not getting the buses available. NJ Transit always gets buses available for people, but Metro North doesn't do that. Apparently, Metro North is just like the Long Island Railroad in that regard. And like I said, a lot of people. I'm not going to read all the comments. And then this happened tonight. Another tree fell down because it's been raining all day. So this tree's still that have been weakened that are coming down, and one came down on the Harlem line, and a train went over it in Crestwood, and it ran over the train. Luckily no one was hurt, and then the train really didn't get damaged too much, but service was severely limited because they only had one track available in this whole area. So very severely limited service. Proactive. I mean, here we go. I paid $60 for a cab. Yeah, $60 for a cab. $60. So where do I submit this bill to Metro North? Why aren't there all buses being provided? That's the point I want to make. NJ Transit is better, I think, personally, because NJ Transit has cross-honoring. NJ Transit has their buses that they get for people that when service is shut down. MTA doesn't want to take their buses out of the city. This is a big problem with Cuomo. Cuomo killed regional bus. It was supposed to be regional bus, and he killed it. And that's something you need to keep in mind. We need to get regional bus back on the table. This stuff needs to stop happening. When these things happen, I'm going to talk about my suggestions to the MTA after this. So, delays of up to 70 minutes, delays of up to 50 minutes due to single tracking, due to just a track condition, which was caused by an earlier downed tree, and then some problems over here too, and then another one. So still some more delays going on even at this late hour. It's like 11:30 at night. So yeah, Metro North's been hit hard by this. Just gonna look at this picture here while I just give my final thoughts. I understand the storm caused a lot of damage, and that damage is unavoidable in the most cases. There's just a disaster, all right? But the MTA needs to be more like New Jersey Transit. We need regional bus back on the table. The MTA needs to be running all the buses in the downstate counties. That's Nassau, Suffolk, Westchester, Rockland, and possibly even Putnam County as well. And we need to also make sure that when the service goes down, that MTA buses are being provided for these areas. And that's something that could be done right now, to change the policy. You have a contingency plan. Like I said, if you suspended express bus service in all the New York City boroughs except for Staten Island, you'd have enough buses to send over to the commuter rail to help out the stranded customers and augment, service disruptions. But they don't do that because Cuomo, you know how I feel about it. He's in bed with Mangano, and he wants you to take a taxi. He's getting kickbacks. I am almost certain Cuomo, just like Mangano, is getting kickbacks from these taxi companies along with Uber and Lyft. They're all Uber and Lyft. People like Uber is not a taxi. It is a taxi. They have surge pricing. They were taking advantage of people last night. They are the same way as these scumbag taxi companies, ripping people off, trying to get home or trying to get to work. And that makes them scumbags. And as far as I'm concerned, anyone who did wind up paying that, file a claim with your bank and dispute the charge because it's a ripoff. We cannot allow our fellow New Yorkers, no matter where they are, to be ripped off like this. It has to stop. And we have to stop it by getting Cuomo out of Albany and electing somebody who is not in bed with a taxi company, somebody who will care about all New Yorkers. Anyway, that's it for this video.